All right. So we are live. We are live on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast YouTube channel. What's happening, everybody? I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks so much for tuning in to the latest episode of the Thomas Take. You can find more episodes just like this one right here on the Thomas Take Sports Podcast YouTube channel. Gone are the days of audio. We'll be posting far more visual videos for you guys to tune into and for you guys to comment on and for you guys to conversate with me in regards to video subject matter. So, that being said, we're live, we're hanging out, we're thinking of sports topics to talk about to entertain the sports fans. And what better sports topic to discuss for me to get fired up about than that of the future outlook of the Buffalo Sabres? A true shit show of epic proportions at One Seymour Knox Plaza in regards to the Buffalo Sabres. I hate to say it. It pains me to say it. It, as a matter of fact, makes me kind of sick to my stomach that I have to say that the Buffalo Sabres are an all-out dumpster fire. That I have never been more embarrassed to be a Buffalo Sabres fan. Furthermore, I've never been more embarrassed to be a Buffalonian in regards to how the Pagulas, as owners of the Buffalo Sabres, have represented the Sabres, Buffalo, and more. We'll dive into the and more part as we go along, obviously, but man, I'm embarrassed, guys. I'm really embarrassed. It is beyond embarrassing for us to go through what we've gone through the last 10 years as Buffalo Sabres fans. This is the worst decade in the history of the Buffalo Sabres. I can't think of a worse decade than this 2010 to 2020 for the Buffalo Sabres. And I only go back to 1992. I know the story. I know the stories, the history, I should say. I know the history of this team. You have to learn the history of your team in order to root for said team. I know the history of my Buffalo Sabres. And it's actually a pretty good one for a franchise that hasn't won a Stanley Cup. The French Connection, Dominic Hasek. They've had a lot of really good players. The back-to-back Eastern Conference championship, with Danny Briere and Chris Drury, the back-to-back Eastern Conference appearances, Eastern Conference Finals appearances in 05, 06, 06, 07. Prior to that, though, Schoenfeld, Foligno, Danny Gare, the French Connection, Gilbert Perreault, Rick Martin, Rene Robert, Grant Fuhr, Tom Barrasso. The Sabres have had a lot of names on the roster. Lindy Ruff included, Grinder, Rob Ray, Matt Barnaby, a good buddy of mine that I talk to on Facebook quite often. Really nice guy. Jay McKee, another guy that I really have enjoyed chatting with over the years. Really nice guy as well. Donald Audette, one of my favorite Buffalo Sabres ever. As a kid, that was my dude, Donald Audette. I loved me some Donald Audette. Let me tighten the screws here on this one. I love me some Donald Audette. Big fan of Donald Audette, to say the least. So when I think of the last 10 years of this Buffalo Sabres franchise, for a team as bad as the Sabres, the fact that they have one of the best players in the world in Jack Eichel. He's one of the best players in the world, and yet the Sabres are one of the bottom basement-dwelling, bottom-feeder franchises of the National Hockey League. Furthermore, they are viewed as such around the National Hockey League. Why wouldn't they be? They've sucked for 10 years. Why wouldn't the other franchise clubs in the National Hockey League view the Sabres as nothing but a basement-dwelling wasteland for hockey? Especially for hockey talent. Jack Eichel is learning that the hard way. You're already hearing and reading whether or not Jack Eichel will remain a Sabre for his entire career. Those those conversations will only continue as long as the Buffalo Sabres continue this ineptitude of a franchise. Ineptitude. There's a difference between being ridiculously bad, and inept. Bad is, okay, we'll get past this. Inept is repeated history of being a all-out shit show throughout the last 10 years. And I'll try to sugarcoat it as best as I can. I'll try to be as PG-13 as I possibly can. But, folks, honest, how can you guys look at this Buffalo Sabres team and say to yourselves, this is a team that I respect? I don't respect this. I don't respect going back to the well again and again and again to find ourselves with another general manager, with another head coach, over and over and over again. Now, caveat to Jason Botterill being fired is that Jason Botterill is no longer in the organization, number one. Number two caveat is that they were able to promote a guy from within that I actually really like, Kevin Adams. I'm actually pretty happy about Kevin Adams being the general manager on this franchise. He's a local boy, Clarence guy, 15 minutes away from me right now. And he's a guy that made good. Homeboy made good. Hometown boy made good. Homeboy made good. Hometown boy made good. So that's nice. I like that. There's nothing to not like about that, right? Can we agree on that? Can we agree that we all like the fact that Kevin Adams is from here, made a sustainable National Hockey League career, an 11, 12-year career? Wasn't just a minor league grinder, a minor league goon. This was a guy that competed at the highest of levels. Wanted to compete at the highest of levels. And, I respect that. Greatly. Had plenty of key moments on some of these clubs, in particular the 05-06 Carolina Hurricanes, which Sabres fans should know a ton about. The 05-06 Carolina Hurricanes. We went 7 games with them in the Eastern Conference Finals. Was Kevin Adams a 50-goal scorer? No, but he had a sustainable, durable National Hockey League career. Can't say the same for Jason Botterill, by the way. So that, I think, counts. And we're diving into the Kevin Adams stuff here for now, but we'll go back to the Sabres organization as a whole. You go down the totem pole as far as power goes. Kevin Adams, great that, he's eager and very thankful for the opportunity. So that is great. That makes me feel very good. When I watched the Kevin Adams introductory press conference, if you want to call it that, the Zoom call, I was pretty thankful that they made that decision. I actually think that was the right counteractive move as far as bringing Kevin Adams into Buffalo. I thought that was fair, or elevating him was fair. Because I think what will help Kevin Adams is that Ralph Kruger is in the organization. And if there's a silver lining within this dumpster fire cluster, of the Buffalo Sabres, it's that Ralph Kruger is highly respected by guys like Jack Eichel, by guys like Jeff Skinner, by guys like Sam Reinhart, by guys like Rasmus Dahlin, Rasmus Ristolainen, Linus Ullmark, guys that are on the Sabres, hopefully, in the case of Sam Reinhart, but the rest of them, guys that aren't going anywhere. Guys that are staying here for the long haul. The core of the roster. And beyond that core of the roster, that is what needs the most work. That is what needs the areas of modifying, I guess you could say. The areas of areas of fixing, shall I say. So we'll find out what happens as far as the future of the Sabres goes, but I have my own outlook on it. My outlook is bleak. It is not a sugar-coated sunshine and rainbows. I'm not going to leave you watching this video thinking that the Sabres are going to win the Stanley Cup. I'm not going to leave you watching this video thinking that the Sabres will make the playoffs. Playoffs? Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game. Jim Mora mood right now. That's my mood for the Buffalo Sabres. That's been my mood for the Buffalo Sabres for 10 goddamn years. Awful. I'm trying to be as professional as possible on the Thomas Take Sports podcast today, but while I'm behind the mic, I got to let my frustrations out. I have to be honest. I have to be transparent as well to the Buffalo Sabres fans, because there's no fan base in the National Hockey League. There's no fan base in the NFL that deserves to see a championship team more than that of the Sabres and the Buffalo Bills. Both fan bases deserve better. The Bills, for once in my lifetime, as I said, 28 years old here, for once in my lifetime, I have no questions as to whether the Bills will be competitive. I think they'll be competitive. The Sabres, on the other hand, that's the last thing I expect the Sabres to be. I expect the Sabres to just be a part of the show. They're like that extra in a movie. They're just there in the background. They're just there in the background. That's it. The Bills, however, I expect to be at least a co-star in a script featuring the Kansas City Chiefs and the Baltimore Ravens as one of the top 3 teams in the AFC. And it's amazing to me, both the Bills and Sabres have polar opposite outlooks in terms of the future of the franchise. Granted, the most fascinating thing about this whole thing is that the Bills do not have a Jack Eichel on their roster. They do not have one of the top players in the world on their roster. Josh Allen, he's got some work to do. I love Josh Allen. I think he's going to be the guy. But he's got gaps that he needs to fill before he gets there. Jack Eichel has no gaps. Jack Eichel has no areas where he needs to improve. He's only got areas where he's only going to get better. This is a phenom. This is a superstar. This is a guy that drafted 2nd overall, would have been 1st overall any other year if a guy by the name of Connor McDavid wasn't in the draft. And that's the guy that I feel sorry for in this whole thing. Outside of the Sabres fans, I feel most sorry for Jack Eichel. No player is going to have to pick up the slack more than Eichel in the next X amount of years. It's going to take hard work, dedication, and a mental edge that few players have to experience in order for Jack Eichel to stay as patient as he needs to be throughout the next however many years he's got left in his contract. Let's look that up. Let's look up how many years Jack Eichel has in his contract. Why not? If we're on the show and we're trying to figure out how many years Jack Eichel's got on his contract, that's all you need to know as far as what this is going to look like. Bump my nose on the mic. But Spot Track's got it. I know they got it. I'll find it. Obviously, it's multiple years. It's a 10-year deal. He signed it, was it 3 years ago? 4 years ago, maybe? 8 years, $80 million. So he's a free agent in 2026. You got 7 years left on this deal. Good God. There's 6 years? 6 or 7, whatever. A lot. And 6 years too many. 7 years too many in the case of Jack Eichel to have to go through this crap. But I give him all the credit in the world. He deserves a lot better. And he's been a good soldier to Buffalo, to the Sabres fans. And it's more than I can say for some other Buffalo superstars in recent years, especially. There's a lot of other Buffalo superstars that don't really translate well to Buffalo. Jack Eichel does. He fits in like a glove here, but the supporting cast is just not there. Beyond those names that I mentioned, beyond the Skinners, beyond the Olafsons, beyond Reinhart, there's not really a whole lot there for him to play with. Sabres got to get better. Kevin Adams has a tall task ahead of him, and if all these things about the Sabres wanting to, quote-unquote, cut costs, then we're in some real trouble. Some real trouble. Real trouble, to say the least. Real trouble. I'm looking forward to seeing how this whole thing pans out. I'm looking forward to seeing what takes place between now and 2-3 years from now. Will they undergo yet another change as far as the general manager, the head coach? We'll find out. But how long will Jack Eichel put up with this crap? That's the end question, and only time will tell. But my outlook on the Sabres is they're not going to get any better if they go down this trajectory. And that might sound like an obvious take, but a lot of people think that they're going to just instantly get better. It's going to take time. They have to rebuild and reinvigorate the brand of the Buffalo Sabres. That's what has to happen here. What that Buffalo and Sabres, crossing Sabres means has to change, because right now it means mediocrity. Right now it means a losing culture. Right now it means wasting talent. And that can't continue. That stigma, that stench has to wear off. The only way for it to wear off is if they bring in some true NHL talent. Don't worry about building the farm system. Don't worry about building Rochester. Rochester's got enough. Are we worried about the Rochester Amerks or the Buffalo Sabres? Last I checked, the NHL is a little bit more of a higher priority. At least it should be. But we'll see. I'm Ryan Thomas. Thanks for tuning in to the Thomas Take Sports Podcast on YouTube. Take care.